Good morning. It is October 3rd, 2018. Thank you so much for joining me for the Title I Parent and Family Engagement Planning, Policies, and Compacts session. My name is Lauren McKinney, and I serve here at the Region 10 ESC in the Special Revenue Services team with and alongside Dion Quinn and Vanessa Delacretas. We are your consultants here in Special Revenue. Oh, quick reminder, I know I've already said this several times prior to us beginning, but if you did not have the opportunity to mark your attendance, please make sure you do so at the short link there on the screen. So this is our session description. I'm not going to read this with you. This is the same one that we always have each year in that we're going over the parent and family engagement policy, the compact, strategies for building capacity, and then a few other requirements that you may want to be aware of as pertains to parent and family engagement under Title I, Part A. We will have some resources at the very end as well. To start us off, this is a cartoon that I borrowed from Terry and Skip out of Region 16, who hosts the statewide initiative. As you can see here, all of the scientists are blindfolded. You also see all of these different descriptions of what they believe they are in fact touching. We have a gentleman there at the top with the blindfold on saying, it's a fan, because he's touching the ears. We have a gentleman down here saying, it's a spear. We also have, it's a snake, it's a tree, it's a wall, and then lastly, it's a rope. I really enjoy this cartoon, and when it was shared with us, I said, I'm definitely sharing that one again, and I enjoy it because of exactly what it depicts. All in all, this is an elephant, right? But depending on your perspective, depending on which piece of the elephant, or in this case, which piece of the initiative you have access to, or you have a full understanding of, determines your overall perception of the, in this case, the statute on a whole. So as we go forward, please just kind of keep that in mind, and especially as you're going through the year, what you see and the piece that you see is going to be completely different from what others see who are participating in this journey of parent and family engagement with you. Here is our agenda. We just had the welcome, so welcome. We will briefly go into statute and then look at the parent and family engagement policy, which of course is part of the statute, as is the school parent compact. We'll go into some capacity building activities as well as the TEA strategic priorities, and then start to go into closing, a couple of reminders, upcoming opportunities that are going on across the state, and then we will close out with resources. So statute. We know that we have been under ESSA. It was signed into law on December 10th, 2015 by President Obama. If you want access to the statute in its entirety, I invite you to go to my Family and Community Engagement Google page, which has a short link there. As you can tell, I love short links, gg.gg/FACE 2018. And the FACE just stands for Family and Community Engagement, and then 2018. One of the reasons why I like that site, beyond the fact that I put it together, is because you have opportunity to have access to a lot of additional materials. Some of these we will have a chance to look at today, others we won't, but just know that if you want additional resources, you can find those there. And then in addition, and lastly, if you want to see the statute within its entirety, like the full thing as pertains to family and community engagement, you can definitely access that on this site as well. I want to go quickly into what we are, or what I can consider, the purposes of the law, because as you plan for the year, you want to make sure, in addition to the fact that you're building capacity, you're working on your climate and culture, you're ensuring that all stakeholders feel as though they are a vital and required and needed part of what we are doing on the campus. We also want to make sure that we are adhering to what the law and statute says that we should be doing. Ensuring that we're meeting all requirements as an LEA and a campus can sometimes be overwhelming, and what we don't want is that this turns into check boxes for compliance purposes purely. I did this, I did this, I did this. So yeah, I know I'm good to go. That's not what this is supposed to be, nor do we want it to turn into that. So let's look at these a little further, remove the check boxes, and look at the purposes behind the requirements themselves. So the first piece, the parent involvement policy. Yes, that is required under statute. We know that part of the reason why this exists is because we need to engage all of our stakeholders. So, and as you know, parent involvement under Nickleby is what it was known as. And then under ESSA, it transitioned into parent and family engagement. And I think it's for a couple of reasons. The one of which is to say, hey, we acknowledge that it is more than just parents, be it biological or foster or adoptive parents who take care of our kids, but it's also a full community, full family experience. So that policy, it's not just for parents, it's for all stakeholders who have a direct invested interest in making sure that our kiddos are successful, and not just academically successful, even though we know that's important. And we know that when we're looking at statute, it all ties back into how does this academically improve the overall well-being of our students, but it's also looking at it from a social and emotional and support lens. So the parent and family engagement involvement policy, the purpose is to make sure we're engaging everyone. The school parent compact, we'll go into that into further details, but again, linking back to student learning, the intent is to support the learning that's occurring at school, but at home. Communication, that is a part and a requirement of the law, and it's making sure that we all understand fully what is occurring in this process of educating our students. Annual evaluation, also a part of the law. Then that goes into a variety of areas. For sure, it's linked into your comprehensive needs assessment, which is vital and a part of all campuses who are receiving any kind of funding, be it federal or state. There is a requirement to make sure you're engaging in that comprehensive needs assessment or that CNA process. But it helps you to also figure out from an evaluative standpoint at the end of the year, what are we doing that we need to change going into the upcoming year? Your campus and district plans. Parent and family engagement, it's not a separate entity in that it's just what we're doing over there just for that piece of paper. They are separate, but they work cohesively together and should be reflected in the initiatives and the actions and strategies that are found within a campus as well as a district's plan. And that goes back to impacting student achievement. Staff development, that is also found in the law. We have to make sure we're improving our learning and understandings as those who serve in the education field. Parent training, we're making sure that we are assisting our parents in making them as strong as they possibly can to support the educational process at home. And you have to be careful sometimes with that notion of parent training. Years ago, in one of the roles I served in here at the ESC, I was parent and family engagement consultant. And I offered what was called Instructions Not Included, which is a series of sessions for families to be able to strengthen and support the overall process at home, not just from academic, but also from social and also emotional standpoints. And it ranged from what can I do to help support my teenage child because they are now someone I don't understand when I come into those teen years, through bullying. And we also covered how to complete the FAFSA. It was a wide range of things. But I had a parent come up to me one night after I conducted the very first session and reminded me that that notion of parent training can sometimes be offensive. So we want to be careful with how we frame that as well. The last three things that you see there that are found directly under the law: community partnerships, making sure that we're strengthening the resources that we have so that we can coordinate and integrate our funding from the federal, state, and local level and get the biggest bang for our buck. The Title I meeting, the annual Title I meeting, we have to do that. It's part of the law, and the purpose is to make sure that we are welcoming families and all stakeholders and encouraging them to be active members of what's occurring on the campus. And then this last piece, your expenditures. There is funding, as we all know, associated with Title I, but there is also additional funding associated with family and parent engagement. So using your funding opportunities that you have, how can we build opportunities for families to be more deeply engaged and embedded within the culture and the climate and the practices of what we as an LEA and then what the campus is doing. So these laws that we have were not put into place so that we could, hey, I did the policy, let me print it out, laminate it, and slap it on the wall and like never touch it again. That wasn't the intent of them. They were created to make sure that we're helping schools connect and build partnerships with parents, families, and communities. There is a real opportunity to make a difference for students and all stakeholders if the requirements that are here are met with thoughtful, meaningful planning. This is not a one and done. Let me check this off on the box and then move on to the next thing on my list to do. Later in this presentation, in our time together, we will go over resources for each of the requirements that you see here. I have this, and I borrowed this from Region 16, the statewide parent initiative, because I like it. It's just a reminder yet again that this is a we process. Family engagement, parent and family engagement is not something that can be done in isolation. It's not something that that one person who is the parent liaison is in charge of doing by his or herself. They have to write the policy, get the parents in here, do the compact, make sure that students are coming to tutorials. This is not a process that's done in isolation, and it is in fact a process. It occurs over time, and it takes time to build up a truly supportive and a truly engaged, and I hate to say that because we're calling it parent and family engagement, but genuinely a truly engaged partnership between all stakeholders, and not just seeing families as the you come when it's time for the back to school night or you come when I call for you kind of thing, versus the partners that they truly are when it comes to enhancing the overall educational environment. Parent and family engagement is a we process. It's teamwork. So before we come off a statute, because I showed you where you can access it, as we go through this, we will be looking at statute for the rest of the time because this is all based on statute. I did want to bring to your attention the parent's right to know. Now this does come straight from statute, of course, but I have screenshotted in here for you a parent notification letter. Now, this may be slightly, depending on the level that you serve within your organization, this may be above what you do, but I did want you to know that this is in statute, that we inform parents of their teacher or paraprofessional qualifications. It's a requirement in ESSA that we notify every parent of a student in a Title I school that they have the right to request and receive in a timely manner information regarding the professional qualification of their student's classroom teacher and or paraprofessional. The information regarding the professional qualifications of the student's classroom teacher or paraprofessional also includes if the teacher has met the state certification qualification criteria for the grade level and the subject areas, if the teacher is teaching under what's considered an emergency or other provisional status, which means the state certification qualification criteria may have been waived. If the teacher is assigned in the field of discipline of the certification. And lastly, whether the student is provided services by paraprofessionals, and if so, what their qualifications are, since the requirement to be highly qualified is still there for paraprofessionals. This is just a copy, a parent notification sample or example letter. And this does coincide with Texas Education Code as well. So if you have questions about providing a notification letter or getting a sample one, let me know. This will be in the resources Google folder that I shared the link with you all through the chat earlier. I'll share it again at the very end, and you can access that if you need additional assistance with it. Okay, going on to the parent and family engagement policy. And as a reminder, guys, I do record this as we go along. So should you want to access any of this at a later time, as always, you can access it through our Title I site, region10.org/Title I. So looking at the parent and family engagement policy, there is the requirement at both the LEA and the campus level to have this policy. So what I'm going to do now is go through this with you. So since the policy is required at both levels, for schools receiving Title I funds, and if the district is receiving the Title I funds as well, I just want to point out to you before we dig into this that the district policy will be more global. It's going to be more overarching and covering the needs of the entire district, whereas your campus policy is going to be very specific because it is addressing the needs that's unique to that campus, that specific family population that they're serving at that specific campus. Whereas your district policy is going to be more global, more overarching because it's covering the needs of the entire district and then what we're doing to address parent and family engagement at the district level. So getting into the district requirement, there's the section law there, your 11495. If you want to see more of it, that can be found on the USDE's website. As a reminder, ideally, the findings from your CNA, because again, anything that you receive federal and state, local, and state funding for has to be based on a need that you found when engaging in your comprehensive needs assessment, and that'll manifest itself through actions and strategies that you do in your improvement plan, district and campus level. So this requirement of having parent and family engagement and the policy should have a direct link or correlation to the needs assessment and also your district improvement plan and your campus improvement plan. Those priorities, when you're drilling down to our biggest needs, should be identified in that DIP and should be highlighted through objectives in the actual policies themselves. So the very first piece of this, conducting outreach. Each LEA must conduct outreach to all parents and family members and implement programs, activities, and procedures for the involvement of parents and families. This is not new. The only part of this that's slightly new, the conduct outreach portion was new under ESSA, bearing in mind that we've been in ESSA the last few years. The conduct outreach piece was new in statute as compared to what it was before. Districts and schools must seek parent and family input when you're thinking about the planning of the programs, your activities, and your procedures for your parent involvement policy and the overall program at large. We are required to reach out to all parents, all populations, as they develop and implement their actual parent involvement strategies themselves. Consultation, we are required to implement all programs, activities, and procedures after having meaningful consultation with parents of participating children. And this is not a one and done. This is not at the beginning of the year in August or September, we did this parent night and our families came and, you know, we got all this great information and that's how we built the policy. That's how we built our compact. That's fantastic, and that's one part of it, but the meaningful consultation is supposed to occur continuously throughout the year. Now, at a minimum, these 6 items should be addressed in your district parent and family engagement policy. They're also going to be reflected within your district improvement plan. So at a minimum, you must include showing how the district policy was developed jointly with parents as well as other stakeholders, but parents, this is the parent and family engagement policy. You must also include in the policy how you're going to build the capacity of the schools, because remember, at the district level, it's going to be broader and more overarching. So what we are doing at the district level, at the LEA level, to build the capacity of our campuses. At the district policy level, you also have to include how you're coordinating your services between, and it could be with local community organizations, it could be coordinating services between the district level and the campus level, but you do also have to indicate that you are and how you are coordinating your services. The annual evaluation, you must show and include in your policy and acknowledge the fact that you will be evaluating your district parent and family engagement policy annually and using that feedback to build the following year's actual policy and plans. You also have to include in your district and family engagement policy that it was designed on evidence-based strategies. And the curriculum person in me has to point out before moving on that evidence-based strategies, that's yes what the statute says, but you also want to make sure that the evidence-based strategies that you select have been proven to work with your population. I can pull evidence-based parent and family engagement strategies that work with, you know, one population, But if that's not the population based on their evidence that reflects my actual population, it's not going to work. Or if it does work, it's not going to work with the same amount of fidelity. So your results may be different. So yes, make sure you're using evidence-based strategies because that comes straight from statute. But I would like to take it a step further and just remind you to make sure that the strategies you're using have been proven to work with the population that looks like your population. And this very last piece, the sixth item that must be addressed in your district parent and family engagement policy, you must include how you're involving parents in the activities. So what we're going to do now is take each of these six and drill into them a little more. So the developing jointly part. According to statute, you will develop jointly with and agree on with and distribute to parents and families of participating children a written parent and family engagement policy that shall be incorporated into your LEA plan. Under this, you are required to establish expectations and objectives for parent and family engagement. The and objectives piece was new under ESSA. The and objectives piece wasn't there under Nickleby, which is why it is highlighted. So these objectives, it's taking it to a different level. It's putting a measurement and an accountability piece on this that was not there before. Develop jointly. The policy shall, and remember, any time in statute you see shall, that means that is what you will do. So the policy shall describe how the LEA will involve parents and family members in jointly developing the LEA plan. Parents have a voice in the development of the district and parent and family engagement policy, and it must be represented and included in the development of your district improvement plan as it relates to parent and family engagement. So this idea and this concept of the expectations and objectives piece, which we said was new under ESSA, this links back to the push from the agency to make sure that your objectives and your goals are SMART. So just as a reminder, SMART, S being specific, M for measurable, A for attainable, R for realistic, and then lastly, T for time frame. So when you are developing these objectives in your parent and family engagement policy, be specific. When do you anticipate this being done? To what degree do you anticipate it being done? Is this something that's genuinely attainable for this year? Even though we're looking at this from a broader scale, thinking at the district level policy, it still needs to be something that can be realistically achieved within this year and then within the time frame that you have set. Some of the objectives may be, we're going to have this or have an anticipated completion time of maybe December. There may be some that have a completion time of June of 2019. Whatever it is, you want to make sure that the objectives are SMART. Building capacity. Now, I said that we were going to go through this quite a few, and there is a actual section later on in our time that will just address building capacity and providing strategies for you to build capacity. But just as a reminder, this comes straight from statute. The policy shall, which means you will, describe how the LEA is going to provide the coordination, technical assistance, and other necessary support to assist and build the capacity of all participating schools within the LEA in the planning and implementing effective parent and family engagement activities to improve student academic achievement and school performance. Now, this goes on to the next slide, but before I do that, I want to remind you that this concept of building capacity is not new. How it's worded here, how the language comes across here is new, but building capacity has always been around. A participating school, when we're thinking about that, the way what's highlighted here, that includes all staff and families, but the sense of it and the way it's coming across is it's how can we do a better job at training our educators and our staff to be a better support to then engage and train and build the capacity of our parents. In this statute in 1116, just as a side note, there were a total of 6 shalls and there are 8 mays. So in shall number 3, it goes even more detail about educating teachers, making sure that there's instructional support personnel and other staff leaders who are being educated and trained to be able to serve the needs of families. So moving on, we're going into one of the mays here at this point. We'll go back and forth between them, but an LEA may, you have the option of choosing to consult with employers, business leaders, and philanthropic organizations or individuals with expertise in effectively engaging parents and family members in education as a resource. So this here in statute is saying, hey, we welcome and encourage you to actually coordinate and collaborate and truly build partnerships with other organizations if they have the expertise needed to help engage parents and families. Call on your resources. Coordination of services. Your policy shall describe how you will coordinate and integrate parent and family engagement strategies to the extent feasible and appropriate with other relevant federal, state, and local laws and programs. So even though this is the Title I Part A requirement when we're thinking about parent and family engagement at large, as you are aware, that requirement for parent and family engagement is all throughout the federal title sources we have. It's also a requirement of Title I Part C when we're thinking about our migrant education. It is also a part of Title III, which is your English Language Acquisition Act, and it also goes even further into the immigrant portion of Title III. So there are requirements for parent and family engagement in several of your federally funded sources, and this is what it's reminding you of. Coordinate as much as you can between your programs. Where it's practical, you may want to consider also partnering or coordinating with your IDEA services or your Head Start services whenever possible, if those are things that you engage in and then offer parent and family engagement assistance with within your LEA. Why repeat the same events over and over meant to target different audiences when you could have one large event and then bring everyone in together? And then that also provides another opportunity for building of community and building a culture of inclusivity across all of your programs. The annual evaluation. I've mentioned this already because that was in that breakdown of what the statute says, but you are and you shall and you will conduct with meaningful involvement of parents and family members an annual evaluation. That evaluation is going to be of the content and the effectiveness of the parent and family engagement policy in improving the academic quality of schools. And it goes on some more, but as a reminder, the evaluation piece is a requirement. It is not oh, we talked about it and we sat down and we thought what we were doing was fantastic. That may be the outcome, but you are required to truly dig in and provide and engage in a program evaluation. And it's going to be a program evaluation of your Title I Part A parent and family engagement, which would include your policy. It's also going to include that compact and then the capacity building activities that you do. So get your parents involved. Keep them involved throughout the year so that when you're having this annual evaluation at the end of the year, at the conclusion of all of your strategies and your practices, this is not now tell me again what we did. When did we supposedly do this event? Because you have them engaged throughout the entire time. Parents' voice, families' voices must be reflected within the evaluation as well. Ask questions. Surveys are very popular, but I encourage and invite you to not only just rely on that kind of quantitative data, but move forward beyond that. Do focus groups, try some forums, make the evaluation process genuine. And we don't want it to come across as just, again, another checklist kind of thing. Now, at the end of the day, it all circles back around to academic outcomes, but we cannot forget the very large piece of this, which is the environment and making sure that families feel as though they are truly partners and an inclusive part of the education process. The evaluation shall also identify barriers to greater participation by parents. So why are they not coming? In particular, they want you to make sure you give extra attention to parents who are economically disadvantaged, disabled, have limited English proficiency, have limited literacy, or of any racial or ethnic minority background. Now, you're including you want to know why everyone is not participating, but they do want you to pay additional attention to gathering details and feedback from these populations as well. The needs of parents and family members to assist with the learning of their children, including engaging with school personnel and teachers. Your evaluation must address that, and it must also address strategies to support successful school and family interactions. Evidence-based strategies. The policy shall describe how the LEA will use findings of the evaluation to design evidence-based strategies for more effective parental involvement. And I've already given my 2 cents about that, but again, make sure that the evidence-based strategies you're using are reflective and shown to work with the population that you serve. And you want to, and you need to, and you will revise, if necessary, the parent and family engagement policy. Again, this is not a laminate thrown on the wall and then we're done. This is a flexible, living, breathing document that you will go back to regularly throughout the year as you see that your needs are changing. Because again, all of this is based on your comprehensive needs assessment, and that is not a process that's done once and one time only either. Your policy shall also describe how you as an organization will involve parents in the activities of the school. Now that's the required piece. Now I'm going to show you a may piece. So how that looks, how you are involving parents in activities of the schools. It may be that you are establishing a parent advisory board comprised of a sufficient number and representative group of parents or families served by the LEA to adequately represent the needs of the population served for the purposes of developing, revising, and reviewing the parent and family engagement policy. So that's just another nod to, we cannot say, I invited everybody, and these are the only 2 parents that came, and these 2 parents happen to be from the same grade level and the same ethnic or racial breakdown and the same socioeconomic. Like you want to make sure that you are truly having a sample that is representative of the entire population that you are serving as an LEA. So you don't want to pull just parents from just this one campus when we're thinking at, again, the district level, because this is your district policy. You want representatives from each campus that will truly provide a reflection of who you are serving, who your families are within your organization. So including parents in the parent and family engagement activities portion is, obvious, but make sure, again, that you're also including community members as well in these activities. And while you may choose to develop a representative parent advisory board, you can also look at other ways of bringing families together so that you can get this feedback. That was it for the actual district or LEA level requirements for the policy. Any quick questions? I'm going to do about 30 seconds worth of questions before we move on to the next. If you have any questions about anything that we covered before going into the campus requirement, please let me know now. Okay, that really was a cheap ploy for me to drink some tea, but I do not see any additional questions either. So I'm going to move into the campus requirements because, again, keeping in mind that the district policy is more broad in nature, it's overarching, it's what we as an LEA are doing to meet the needs of all of our campuses, to build the capacity of all of our faculty so that they can in turn build the capacity of all of our parents. The campus policy is more specific. It is only geared towards those families, those stakeholders on that campus. So let's have a look. These 7 items or areas must be addressed in the school parent and family engagement policy. And because of that, it is also going to be addressed and reflective in your campus improvement plan. Because again, it's all based on your comprehensive needs assessment that you have to engage in at the LEA level as well as the campus level. And as we know, under the multiple measures of the comprehensive needs assessment, parent and family engagement is a large section of that, which is why it is also linked into your campus improvement plan. So now that I am off that soapbox, at a minimum, the school parent and family engagement policy must include the annual meeting. Now, I get questioned quite a bit. in regards to that first bullet, the annual meeting piece. Does that mean within the policy that I have to say on October 3rd at 10:03 a.m. we are going to have a annual Title I? No, that's not what it means. But it does mean that I have to indicate and address the fact that we are having annual meetings. It can be my annual Title I meeting, and that we'll also have later on, as you see further down, regular meetings as well. But the annual meeting is a requirement under statute, so you must include that within the policy. But it does not mean that at this time on this day I am having this. It's just saying that we will be conducting our annual Title I meeting. Flexible meetings. Flexible meetings also does not just mean I am offering it on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It also means that I am offering meetings at flexible times. Maybe this one is going to be at 8 a.m. and then my next parent meeting is going to be at 4 p.m. Because again, if this is about making sure that we are creating an environment that parents feel comfortable and at ease with being truly an integrated part of the educational system at large for our LEA and for the campus, I cannot just offer it at times that's convenient for me. So it can't be, well, especially when I taught high school, school started at 7:30, right? So I was there by about 6:30 every day. So I can't say, well, I'm going to offer my meeting at 7 a.m. because I'm here by 6:30, but I'm not going to do it any other time because when I taught high school, school was over at 2:30. So I'm not going to do it after 2:30, but I'm going to do it at 7 because I'm already here at that time. The flexible meeting portion also goes into, maybe we're going to have it, like when I taught middle school and elementary, we got out later. So maybe we'll have a meeting at 5 p.m. So the flexible meetings is not just the time of the day of the week. It's also the time of the day. And then lastly, also the location. Depending on the environment that you have, or if you have a true community school wherein everyone walks to the campus or they're within a certain geographical location of the campus, maybe we may have it at the community center if we find in our process and in engaging and building relationships that our families predominantly go to the community center that's 2 blocks away because they feel comfortable there because of the environment set there. Flexible meetings also pertains to where the meeting is occurring. Moving on, working together. That school policy content, it must also address that we are working together collaboratively. We are planning together. We are reviewing together. We are improving this together. And the together is not just for those who are employed by your LEA, but together meaning parents, meaning community members, meaning students, all stakeholders. Timely information must also be included in the school policy content. So if you ask me a question today, hopefully I can acknowledge that question today and say I'll get back to you either today or by tomorrow. The parents by law, by statute, are allowed to receive timely information. A curriculum, we are required per statute to go over the curriculum so that parents know what their students are being taught. We are required again to have regular meetings. And then lastly, we are required to include within the policy that parents have the right and we welcome their comments. So let's dig into these a little further. The school shall convene an annual meeting at a convenient time to which all parents of participating children shall be invited and encouraged to attend. The purpose of the annual Title I meeting can be drilled down to these 3 pieces that come directly from statute: to inform parents of the school's participation under Title I Part A, and explain the requirements of Title I Part A and the rights of parents to be involved. These are the 3 pieces that are required in your annual Title I meeting. If you do not have a presentation or a template, I have one for you, of course, and I will show it to you at the end of our time together, and it can be accessed on my Google website that I have, which is gg.gg/FACE, FACE 2018. I'll take you to it later, and I'll give you that link again later. But it actually has an annual Title I meeting PowerPoint already there. You put your information in, and you can rest assured that all pieces of the statute, because even though it seems kind of easy, oh, we're participating under Title I Part A. Oh, we're Title I Part A. There are very specific things that you want to get into, and I'll show you that later too. As a reminder again, it is best to offer the meeting multiple times at different times of the day to accommodate parent schedules. We don't want to penalize families for having to work. So it shouldn't be I'm only offering at 8, or I'm only offering it at 4, or I'm only offering at 9, and I'm only offering at 12. We cannot penalize parents because they have to work. We want to make sure that we're cognizant of their schedules, and by offering it at multiple times, different days, multiple times of the day, different times of the day, it'll allow more parents to attend. The flexible meetings, we shall offer a flexible number of meetings, and these meetings, again, could be time of day, morning or evening, could be location, and we may provide, under Title I Part A, transportation, childcare, or home visits, and any other services that relate to parent involvement. So, in addition to the annual meeting, a school will frequently have other parent meetings and trainings, right? We know this. It is required that we offer a variety of meeting times. So keep in mind the venues. Again, that's there and may provide with funds under Title I. Not a lot of people feel comfortable paying for transportation under Title I Part A. It can become a little tricky, but just be aware that it is definitely an option under your Title I Part A. You can pay for that out of that funding source. You just want to be careful with how and where and when. And with childcare, have a look at some of the organizations that are within your community, if there are any childcare facilities. As always, make sure that if anyone decides to volunteer in that way, make sure that they pass your LEA background checks, because even though we value volunteers and participation from the community, you want to do so safely, knowing that they would pass whatever background checks you have as an LEA in order for someone to interact with children. Working together, you shall develop jointly with, agree on with, and distribute to. Does this sound familiar? It's exactly the same one that was under the district portion of the policy. Parents and families of participating children, a written parent and family engagement policy. Describe the means for carrying out the parent and family engagement program and strategy. You will make the policy available to the community and update the policy periodically to meet the changing needs of parents in school. So we've already said it. I'm going to reiterate, and I'll reiterate several more times during our time together. Parents have a voice. It must be heard. You are required to have families involved in the development of the policy, be it at the district and now focusing in at the campus level. It is a requirement. You are also required to make this policy available. So what I usually get asked, a couple of things when it comes to making it available. Do I have to send home written hard copies of this? That's at your discretion. You will have a written policy available, but do you have to print it out and mail one home to every student? That is at the LEA's discretion. You will have it available should anyone within the community ask for it. And that means that I will have it available on a hard copy should someone come in and say, I want my own copy, if you're choosing to disseminate it electronically. If you choose to have it posted on your site, which I'm very much an advocate for, the only caution I give you is that this is not a Where's Waldo of parent and family engagement, where you're, well, I don't know, is it over here? Is it over there? Would it be under this tab? Clearly mark and identify where your parent and family engagement components are, where your parent and family engagement activities are. They should not have to seek out and search, and it's taken me 40 minutes to find the policy. It's not, it defeats the purpose of encouraging families and stakeholders to be engaged if they're having to hunt it down. So if you want to make it available electronically, that's at your discretion, but just also be aware that should someone ask you for a copy and they come in and say, I want a hard copy, you will print it out and make it available, because that's required when you accept the Title I Part A funding. The school shall involve parents in an organized, ongoing, and timely way in the planning, review, and improvement of the school parent and family engagement policy and the joint development of the school-wide program plan. So that school-wide program plan is the federal way of referencing your district improvement plan, your campus improvement plan. If the campus is also formally identified in being school improvement, meaning IMIR at the state level or targeted and comprehensive at the federal level, you are addressing this and making sure that the strategies that you're developing for your parents and families are also reflected in those other plans, because they should all be working cohesively together. Again, your policy is not static. Don't just do it once, put it up and forget it. It is a fluid, dynamic document that should be reviewed and edited throughout the year regularly. Make sure you update it. Put the date up there, update it on. If you have a parent advisory board, your group, that group can review the policy and the compact several times throughout the year. The parents also must be included anytime you're doing some kind of review or development of your school-wide plan, and that's going to be embedded within the campus improvement plan as well. Timely information. Provide parents and participating children timely information about your programs. And that also includes a description and explanation of the curriculum that's being used at the school, the forms of academic assessment used to measure student progress, and the achievement levels of those students on the challenging state's academic standards. The reason why it's worded that way is that is a almost copy and paste of what Title I Part A itself is intended to do, which is to help students at risk of not meeting the challenging state academic standards succeed. So that's why it's repeated again here, making sure that schools provide information to parents in a language and format that they can understand, because that is directly from statute about the curriculum, assessment pieces, achievement levels. It may be a lot and maybe too much to include per se in your policy, but the policy will describe how the information is going to be made available and explained to parents, if that makes sense. So it's not necessarily in the policy that you have to sit down and go through every single of the accountability system when you're thinking about the A through F system or STAR in every minute detail, but the policy itself must describe how the information that's required here will be accessible by parents through the policy and through the school itself. Regular meetings. The school shall provide to parents of participating children, if requested by parents, opportunities for regular meetings to formulate suggestions and to participate as appropriate in decisions relating to the education of their children, and respond to any suggestions as soon as practically possible. Now, as note, it says if requested. So if parents request this, schools need to be responsive to their needs, especially in matters that address academic performance. Now, all of it, of course, because if the behavioral piece is a challenge, then that's going to impact academic performance, because as we know, behavior impacts our ability to do well when it comes to our academics, because if I'm not focused, if I'm doing other things, that's going to prevent me from being able to learn what I need to learn to do well academically, right? So schools cannot ignore a parent's request. The schools do need to have a process to assist parents and help meet with them. Parent comments. The school shall submit any parent comments on the school-wide plan if it is not satisfactory to the parents of participating children when the school makes the plan available to the LEA. So this is another if piece. So if a parent says, you know, I kind of disagree about this, or I want to make this, or let's change this, you must document it, and you must at the campus level forward it to the district office at an appropriate time. It doesn't mean that for every negative comment we receive or feedback piece that we receive that we may not necessarily completely agree with as an organization, that I'll go back and change everything. But that does mean that, you know, I have to submit it and actually let others know what is going on, and others meaning submitting it to your district or your LEA. Okay, so before we go into the school parent compact, are there any questions? All right, let's keep going. Your school parent compact. This is a three-party partnership, is another way that I view this. The compact, another way of looking at it, is it's your passion in print. It's like a compass pointing toward the destination of student success. I borrowed this one also from Terry and Skip out of the statewide initiative, and I enjoy this as well. So the compact is a written agreement. It is a promise between three parties: the parents, the students, the campus. How will the parents and families and teachers work together this year to achieve the goals of the campus improvement plan and meet state academic standards? So in order for that parent-teacher compact to be more meaningful, the goals identified in the compact should align with your CIP. Again, these things are not done in isolation, they support each other. So obviously the CIP is going to be more expansive, but when the compact is being developed, talk to your leadership, talk to your principal, your teachers, and agree upon which one or two goals is the highest priority, which will impact the actual compact itself. The compact serves as a clear reminder of all of the responsibilities. So what everyone has to do, what I can expect from the parent, what the parent can expect from me as the school, and what we all expect from the student. It's how we make sure that we're taking action at school and at home so that the children can attain those academic achievement standards that the state of Texas has set forth for us. The compact can serve as a valuable tool to effectively and meaningfully engage school and the home in supporting the academic development of the students. Compacts are very important. I mean, and it's again in statute that we are required to do this, and I like to see it as an agreement or a promise between all parties of what we expect from each other in order to, at the end of the day, impact positive student academic achievement. So if you want to see more about the compact itself and where it says in statute that you have to do this, and it's there as we started off, you could visit it at our Family and Community Engagement Google site that I have, which is the gg.gg/face 2018. You can also access it at that tiny URL there, or you can access it through the U.S. Department of Ed's website. So we know that we have to do this. Research shows, of course, that the more families are involved, overall, the students just do better in school, and that we know our parents and families want to help. We also know that schools need the help available to help enable our students to do well. Collaborative partnerships. It is required by statute, and this is also a best practice. When schools, families, and communities all contribute to student success, the best results come when all three work together as equal partners. And what you see there is a form of Venn diagram which covers the family, the school, and the community. When all are working together and have similar expectations, similar goals, we help to create that sweet spot in the middle that you see where everything, that darkish blue, because that's where the values, the expectations, and the level of support between the family, the school, and community all overlap. So the more we're working together, the more these expectations are going to overlap so that the children and our kiddos can be more successful and benefit on a whole. More into the compacts, more requirements under statute. Again, the compact shall be developed by the school with parents. The compact will outline how parents, the entire school, as well as students share responsibility for improved student academic achievement. The compact will also outline how the school and parents will build and develop a partnership, because again, it comes back to academic achievement to help our children achieve the state's high academic standards. The curriculum piece. The school parent compact must describe the school's responsibility to provide high quality curriculum instruction. The school parent compact shall also describe the ways in which each parent will be responsible for supporting their child's learning, and it could be through volunteering and extracurricular support. And the compact must also describe how the school will ensure that there is regular two-way meaningful communication. That also comes straight from statute. As an FYI, parent-teacher conferences are required in elementary for you to actually go over the school parent compact at that time. So everyone has to have a parent and family engagement policy and a school parent compact. Elementary campuses are required to go over the school parent compact during the parent-teacher conference, and it has to be annually. During that time, you're also referencing what we can do to individually improve or attain high academic achievement for that individual family's child or children. Communication, again, crucial. You cannot have this partnership without making sure that we are engaging in regular two-way meaningful communication. And that piece you see throughout the statute. It is throughout the Title I, Part A, Parent and Family component, regular two-way and meaningful communication. We're also required in the compact to describe how, and during that regular two-way and meaningful communication, we're going to provide frequent reports to parents on their children's progress. That compact must stress that the school is going to provide those frequent reports. Although most schools send like the report cards about every 6 to 9 weeks, kind of depending on how your grading cycle is. And usually we do like the progress report about halfway through. Phone calls and text and emails and other ways of communication may be needed and typically are needed in order for you to have that more frequent report or the more frequent conversation and communication of the student's academic progress. The compact also requires that you describe how the school will ensure regular, meaningful two-way communication and addressing reasonable access to staff, opportunities to volunteer and participate, and also observe classroom activities. Because again, the goal, making sure we have collaboration and building of true partnerships, cannot be done once a year at the back to school night, and we must allow reasonable access to staff that are serving their kiddos, as well as opportunities to volunteer. In addition, meaningful two-way communication, we also make sure that the family members, the school, and the staff provide, as to the extent practicable, this communication in a language that family members can understand. So what typically comes up is people will ask me, okay, I have 30 languages spoken on my campus. And that's a lot, but let's say you have 30 languages spoken on your campus. How do I decide what's considered practicable? That is an LEA discretion, but I will let you know that should you be selected as an LEA or campus for your parent and family engagement policy validation, which is happening this year, you do not want to say that we know through our data, through our home language surveys, through our enrollment data, that 50% of our families speak Spanish, 40% speak Vietnamese. Let me change those percentages. Let's say 30% speak Vietnamese, 30% speak Spanish, 30% speak English, and then we have 10% that speak other languages. But I didn't have this translated in Spanish or Vietnamese, despite the fact that 30% speak Vietnamese and 30% speak Spanish on our campus. You don't want to be that campus. So to the extent practicable is what the statute says, but we also want to make sure that we are adhering to what the communicative and the language practices are of our families that we are serving on our campus. Your compact will make sure, just as a reminder, that you are linking the goals to your campus improvement plan. You're describing strategies that families can use at home to strengthen the skills, and you're explaining what teachers will do to support family learning. And to wrap that up, describing what students will do to reach their academic goals, it has to be written in family-friendly language with meaningful input from families and students, and emphasize the importance of ongoing two-way communication or conversation. Remember, that practice is not a monologue. Okay, I'm sorry. We want to make sure that we are communicating effectively. It's not me telling you what you're going to do when we're referencing families. It's what we are doing together to make sure that we are dialoguing and communicating effectively. Just as a side note, that family-friendly language is very important. We're in education. We're educators, right? So we have acronyms for everything, and we can speak in fantastic vocabulary. But when we're referencing our parent and family engagement policy, as well as our school parent compact, that is not the time to show how great we are as educators. That's the time to make sure that we are effectively communicating. And to do so, make sure that we kind of err on the side of family-friendly language, okay? And to the extent practicable, making sure that that stuff is in languages that our parents can understand. As a side note as well, since it is a requirement under Title I, Part A to make available policy, compact, anything related to student academic achievement, so that could also include your campus improvement plans, as well as your CNAs, in a language that parents can understand. When you're thinking about translation services, remind yourself that you have to do this if you're receiving Title I Part A funding. So this is not necessarily the time to try to tap into other funding sources, i.e. my Title III funding, because under Title I Part A, I am required to make sure that I am providing these documents in a language that parents can understand to the extent practical. All right, guys, before we head into our last maybe 20 minutes together, do you have any questions about anything we've covered so far, be it the district policy requirements, the campus policy requirements, or the school parent compact? I'll give us 30 seconds, see if anyone says anything. Okay, seeing none, I will continue. I guess that means that I am doing a fantastic job of clearly explaining all of the requirements. Thank you for your time, guys. I'm going to go a little deeper into the capacity building piece of this because we are required, as we already saw earlier, and if you've already downloaded the statute and you've read through it, you know we are required to build the capacity. Now, at the district level, you're required to build the capacity of staff and those who serve families as well as the families, but also at the campus level, you're required to build the capacity of those who serve families, but also, again, families. So let's go into a couple of things here. Building capacity, you're required to explain standards and assessments at parent-teacher conferences because that comes through in the requirement of the policy and the compact of making sure that stakeholders are aware of the curriculum and the state academic standards. That was in statute. So when you're going over your parent-teacher conference information, use that as an opportunity to go through the standards and the assessments. You also want to gather feedback from parents and families to assess their understanding of the assessments and determine resources that they may need. And we are required to train staff to effectively share information with parents about student progress. And again, with that one, think back to that family-friendly language piece. We're wanting to make sure that families understand what their students are doing. Are they on track for progress? What opportunities for growth that they have? And if they need resources, we're providing them. We want to make sure that we're getting parents all the information they need to help their child be successful. I used to always share when I covered parent and family engagement, as well as a few other things here at the Service Center, that it is not about me training a parent to be a teacher, because that's not what we're doing. I went to school to be an educator. This is about making sure that parents can help support what we're doing at school, but at home, so that their children can be successful. So building their capacity, their skill sets to be able to assist their children with their academics. Showing parents how to monitor their child's progress and how to work with educators. That is a capacity building strategy. Conducting staff training on ways to effectively communicate and share academic information with parents. That is another way that you can build capacity to address the requirements. And also involving parents in the development of parent classes. Some of our LEAs do the parent university piece and other parent engagement pieces wherein families are taking charge and leading the learning and leading the instruction and the training to not only other parents, but also staff members. Building capacity, some more strategies. Offer classes for parents in literacy development and the use of technology to help them work with their children. Providing training that parent and children can attend together with information that will continue the learning at home. So when you do, let's say the first Monday of every month, each grade level is Monday math night. So when parents come in and you're modeling, this is what we're going to be covering this month in your child's grade level in the area of math, also providing information and strategies and practices that they can take home and continue the learning with. Establishing accessible and convenient parent resource centers. If you don't have the space, every campus that I served on, we did not have the physical space to have a parent resource center on campus. Well, we kind of had a mobile one, as interesting as that sounds. We had several different rooms within the campus that had parent resource information. So kind of depending on what time of the day it was, they knew they could go to the library and find parent resource information there. They had a designated area there that it was always set up. They could also go to the counselor during lunches. We had resources set up also in certain sections of the cafeteria. So even if you don't have a designated space that you could have everything there at all day, this is a parent resource center, you can be creative and just know that there are other ways for you to make resources available for your families. Also looking at coordinating with community organizations to provide practical information, resources, ESL classes, um, hobby classes, things that will bring parents and families together. Building capacity strategies, here are a few more. Providing trainings that will educate parents and give them the knowledge to support the child's education. I've already covered this, but some more other strategies maybe to look at. Literacy and tech, that comes out of statute, but offer those classes. Establish accessible and convenient resource centers, because again, that does come out of statute. Making sure that parents have guides that align with the classroom instruction. If you're sending home guides and this is what we're covering for this grading cycle or for this month. And train teachers on the development of interactive homework and assignments that allows and encourages parent support. So you want to make sure that any type of capacity building activities or trainings that you're offering for parents will help parents feel more knowledgeable about being able to support their child's education. Because again, it's not about me training you or teaching you to be the teacher. It's what you can do to help support what's going on at school, but at home. And one last little side note before I transition off of this, there are a lot of community resources that you have that are willing to also come in and help. Doing partnerships with community college, with four-year colleges. There are several grant programs and organizations out there who get paid to make sure that they are connecting between the community and the school. Communities and schools is a very popular one that we have throughout the state of Texas and definitely within our region, who offer services for free because it's part of how they are paid. Also, they're the council, and the council is the name of the organization, but I think their long title is the Council on Drug Awareness or something to that effect. But they also offer complimentary classes and complimentary trainings and sessions to campuses and LEAs free of charge because it is part of how they receive their funding and it's part of their mission. So if you need a list, I encourage you to reach out to our parent and family engagement folks that we have here, Susan Benavidez and I'm Susan Harris, sorry, and Sandy Benavidez here. The website is region10.org/parent involvement. They have a list of resources available for free that you can tap into so that these organizations can come out and offer these capacity building pieces. Some more strategies. Train staff to hone their skills as effective communicators. We want the staff to be trained in a systematic and ongoing manner. This is not once a semester we come together and reference how can we effectively communicate with parents. We want parents to talk to school and staff about the importance of communication and urge staff to do what they consider and what some folks call like your community field trips to view your neighborhoods and conduct home visits. And as a side note, viewing the neighborhoods does not mean I am driving by in my car with the windows up and the doors locked and say, that's where Timmy lives. You know, community field trips and viewing your neighborhoods genuinely means walking around. This is where my student lives. Going into the community centers, stopping by some of the stores, really getting a feel for this is where my students that I serve live. These are the community members that I serve, and this is where they live. How can I build the partnerships between them? A few other things, this kind of reiterates what we just said. So the only other thing that I want to pull out from here is making sure that you're developing with parents professional development materials and resources about how to meet their needs. So this is not just from the outside perspective as an educator. This is what I think parents want us to do. This is involving parents because again, your parent and family engagement policy, your compact, your activities, your strategies, not only are they linked in the policy, the compact, and your campus and district improvement plans, it's required by statute that families are involved with the creation of it. So use it. Use your families to be able to tell you how they want to be served. Invite parents to speak with school staff and faculty so we know what it's like to be a parent to their children from their perspective. Some more strategies. Make sure that you're providing information and resources so that students can successfully transition to school. And that's one thing under Title I as well. Under ESSA, I have what I call the M&Ms. So if you ever need the chart to know what's required under a school-wide program, let me know. But it's called I call it the M&Ms of ESSA because statute just calls it your must and mays. But transitioning is a requirement throughout all the levels in Title I Part A in a school-wide program. Under Nickleby, it was just an emphasis or a focus on transition at that early childhood awareness. In ESSA, you are required to focus on easing the transition through all levels. So I tell folks it's basically getting students into your campus and off of your campus. So making sure that you're helping parents and students transition between levels because there's a lot of anxiety and new stressors anytime you transition. Having that school orientation and guided tour for parents and families to provide a smooth transition. That's a capacity building strategy you may want to consider. And not just doing it at the beginning of the year. At any time, someone can transition into your school or transfer in from another campus or outside of the state. So not making that a once a year thing. It can be as needed. Allowing preschool programs to have parent meetings at the elementary school so that it's requiring parents to come up to, this is where your child is going next. We're having our meeting here so you can get familiar with it. And delivering educational materials to make sure everyone is on track for the academic expectations. So I'm not going to go through this again. It's a few more things here, but another strategy I want to pull out is that concept of taking an old school bus and transitioning it and transforming it into a parent resource center on wheels. We have several LEAs within our region that has done so, some through capacity building grants that we've provided for those who are part of our shared services arrangement. But if you're wanting to see what some have done, let us know. We have resources that can connect you with those LEAs who have done just this. And the Parent Resource Center through like a literacy bus and also just a resource center on wheels. Identifying people in the community and school that are skilled to help translate materials, circulate questionnaires to determine language needs and to address potential language barriers since we're required under Title I to make sure that we are addressing language needs, and under parent involvement policy, parent and family engagement policy and compact, we are also required to make sure we're addressing potential barriers. Involve parents in the developing of it, and again, it has to be in a language and format understandable to the families. Make sure that the language is family friendly. Advertise and offer services for interpretation for parents so that they do not feel as though they cannot participate in an event that's occurring at the school because of language. Barriers are things that we need to be aware of, and we need to let families know that we are knocking down those barriers for participation. So come one, come all. You also want to make sure that you are making all resources available that are sent out to parents easily accessible, and then having community organizations that represent families come and offer their services as well. Collaborate with parents. Occasionally utilize staff or faculty meetings to invite parents or community members to come up and share. These are things that are going on. Here are some updates so that you can be more engaged in what we are doing. So to kind of close out some of this, and there's a few others that I have left to show you, but when you're looking at building parent capacity strategies, you want to make sure you're approaching it from that, how can I provide opportunities? How can I share resources and materials? How can I designate a team for parent and family engagement to be responsible for this? And how can I build evaluative tools through parent materials, through parent workshops, through parent meetings to assess the areas of improvement that we have left? So a couple more things with capacity building and strategies. Evaluate the need for literacy training. Get that feedback through all means necessary. It could be through your comprehensive needs assessment. It can be through surveys. It can be through forums. Make sure that we're providing practical resources for parents to help them assist their children, and partner with your local community organizations, businesses, and provide literacy training. Last couple of things here with Mays, you can pay reasonable and necessary expenses associated with parent involvement activities. I've already addressed this earlier, but transportation and childcare costs are a allowable usage of the funding. It is a may, now within reason, but it is a may. And if you have questions about that, you know where to reach your special revenue services team. Always remember when you're thinking about transportation liability concerns, okay? So you want to be very careful with transportation. This is why you do not want individual teachers, individual principals, those who serve families, to volunteer their vehicles. So think about liability. That's my kind of last note on that. Coordinate with your community groups. We've already referenced childcare, so I won't go into that again, as well as changing locations, but keep that in mind. You may train parents to enhance the involvement of other parents, which we know. We've already addressed this as well, but collaborate with your parents, please. Come up with, develop, schedule, present parent training classes. That is, yet again, something that you can do to build the capacity of your families. Use them to be able to train other parents as well as staff. Make sure that you are arranging school meetings at a variety of times. It's listed here as a may when it comes to in-home conferences, but no, you are required to offer flexible meetings. The may portion of this comes into whether or not you want to offer these, like say at home or between teachers or other educators at the family's home who work directly with the children. But the offering it at a flexible time, that's not a may, that's a you will. But as far as where you're doing them, the location, that kind of falls into the may category, which is what I'm also saying here. So please note the number of meetings, morning and evening and all of that stuff, you will do. It's just you have an option, and you may look at providing and with your funding the transportation childcare thing. Okay. Last couple of things, and then we will wrap up our time together. This kind of goes into what we've already hit on, but for capacity building, you can conduct home visits to share the academic information with parents who maybe have difficulty coming up to the campus during the times that you have selected. The location other than the school, we've already talked on that, but just as a reminder, consider other venues. Some parent-teacher conferences can be held in a small group if you want to group folks based on, especially if you're using translation services as well. You may adopt and implement strategies and approaches to improve parent involvement. So another way that may be done is identifying research-based or evidence-based practices, but again, making sure that it is reflective of the population that you serve, and introducing those best practices at staff meetings and training for PD. That district-wide parent advisory council. Now, the PAC requirement that is under your Title I Part C, that's different, okay? Under your Title I Part A, you may establish a district-wide parent advisory council. Now, the requirement of having a parent advisory council under Title I Part C, your migrant ed, that is a requirement under Title I Part C. Under Title I Part A, you may establish a district-wide parent advisory council as well. If you decide to do that, make sure that that council is truly a sample that's representative of your campus demographics, as well as that thinking at the district level, your district demographics as well. And that meetings that you're offering for that parent advisory council, please make it convenient for them as far as the time and location. Last couple of things, may develop appropriate roles for community-based organizations. So if you have already, and of course you have because we all engaged in our comprehensive needs assessment, a list of your district or school needs, let your community groups know, invite them to participate, see how they can be truly invested partners. Here is a weird kind of last minute shall that they kind of backdoored here, but this is just how it falls in statute. You shall provide other reasonable support for families so that they can be engaged in what's going on upon request. So reasonable support based on what families are saying or communicating to you they need, okay? That may involve prioritizing your needs, reporting to staff, as well as other support groups, what ideas parents have so that we can enhance and improve our overall parent and family engagement policy. whatever we need to do to make sure that parents are truly involved and collaborating and engaged and invested in the practices that we are doing as a community at large. And as a community, meaning the school, the parents, the students. So to wrap this up, you must provide assistance to parents in understanding the state academic standards. You must provide materials and training to help parents work with their children, and specifically highlighted in statute is literacy and technology. You must train staff in the value and the importance of the contribution of parents. You must coordinate and integrate your programs, so across your funding sources, and provide information in a language and a format that parents can understand. Before I go into the TEA strategic priorities, do you have any additional questions? And if so, I have about 9 minutes with you. I will make sure that I wrap up in our last remaining 9 minutes. I've been asked again about attendance, so I am shooting that out across our chat. But as a reminder, the attendance link was gg.gg/T1FACE 2018. Okay, and my remaining 8.5 minutes, the TEA strategic priorities. I am reminding you of these because as a state, we are all committed to supporting these 4 TEA strategic priorities. We are all, as LEAs in the state of Texas, making sure that we are recruiting, supporting, and retaining teachers and principals. We are building a foundation of reading and math. We are connecting high school to career and college, and we are improving our low-performing schools. This is not independent of parent and family engagement. All of these interact with parent and family engagement, which is why I'm showing you our state 4 strategic priorities. In order to meet these, we are engaging in the enablers that you see below. Because we are increasing transparency, fairness, and rigor in our district and campus and academic and financial performance, that will allow us to recruit, support, and retain, build that foundation of reading and math, connect high school to career and college, and improve our low-performing schools. The other enablers, we are being compliant. We are implementing legislation, informing policymakers of the needs that we have, and we are strengthening our organizational foundations. By doing these things, it enables us to be able to support our strategic priorities that as a state, we are committed to doing because it is part of what we are tasked to do by our Texas Education Agency. And all of these support what we are doing with our parent and family engagement pieces. Going forward, I want to share with you a quick story. This is a story about 4 people named everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody. There was an important job to be done, and everybody was sure that somebody would do it. Anybody could have done it, but nobody did it. Somebody got angry about that because it was everybody's job. Everybody thought that anybody could do it, but nobody realized that everybody wouldn't do it. It ended up that everybody blamed somebody when nobody did what anybody could have. I'm ending with that because I want to remind you all that it's not one person's job. We are all engaged in the parent and family engagement work, from the policy to the school parent compact to the capacity building activities initiatives that are also reflected in our district and campus improvement plans. We are all committed to improving our parent and family engagement practices, which at the end of the day, research shows us will positively improve our students' academic performances. Let's not fall into the everybody, somebody, anybody, and nobody trap when we're thinking it's always someone else or someone else over here is going to. We all have to be engaged in this work. Let's go on to resources. Coming up, your Special Revenue Services team, our Save the Dates. This went out across the listserv, our ESSA listserv, many times. I think the first time was back in March, but as a reminder, upcoming Federal Program Directors meeting on November 14th, 2018 here at the Region 10 ESC. We've already had several state allotments events, but the next one is also on November 7th. If your campus is transitioning to Title I school-wide and you want more support on how to develop these pieces, we have our next training on November 7th and 8th. We also have additional engagement opportunities through the Edgar Expedition, which is a week from today on October 10th. And then in the spring, we have Fed Camp. Federal Friday is a complimentary webinar series that we offer once a month. The next one is on next Friday, October 12th, 2018. If you want to participate in that, feel free to sign up and do so. You can access the flyer in the registration link through our Title I website. Some of the materials that were shared with you today come from the statewide School Parent and Family Engagement Initiative. They have recently changed their name to include Title I, but all of that, it's funded by the Texas Education Agency, and it's overseen by Region 16. And there's the contacts there for you, Terry Stafford and Skip Forsyth. Upcoming in December, we are hosting, and I say we because it is the Region 10 ESC as the host ESC, the statewide parental involvement conference. This is the cheapest it'll be for you for quite a while because it is actually hosted here in our region, so you don't have to worry about travel per se. If you want more information on it, please go to implanners.com/parents. It is being held in Frisco, the Frisco Embassy Suites and Convention Center, and it is December 6th through the 8th. We have some phenomenal sessions that are coming. I will be leading a session as well as several others. I am active on Twitter, and if you follow me on Twitter, you are aware of that. But if you'd like to see some of the Twitter pieces we have, I tweet quite a bit, L_McKinney_R10, as does Dion Quinn. He's at QuinnNR10. Here are some of the tweets that I've been sending out. We have our Twitter handle for the Parent Involvement Conference. It is hashtag OTOD 2018 for One Team, One Dream 2018. That is the theme of our statewide parent involvement conference that is being hosted here in the Frisco area. If you'd like to sponsor or participate in other ways, donate things, please let us know. I also want to let you know that the Title I Statewide School Support and Family and Community Engagement Initiative, that is their title, out of Region 16, has the statewide parent involvement newsletter. It is released quarterly, and now they are up to 5 languages. They have English, they have Spanish, they have Vietnamese, they also have German, and lastly, it is also translated into Korean. Feel free to download their newsletter. The only thing that they ask is that you use the newsletter in its entirety because it is for copyright reasons. So if you use it, please just send out the entire thing. You cannot take, article on page 5 is really cool. Now share the entire thing, please, because of copyright reasons. We also have a compliance calendar for the 18-19 school year that can be found on the region10.org website or my family and community engagement site, which is gg.gg/FACE2018. More resources from the Title I Part A Parent and Family Engagement Initiative can be found on Region 16's website. They also have more resources about building capacity, a one-pager, as you can see here. The TEA strategic priorities can be found on the TEA's website, tea.texas.gov. I'm going to check to see if we have any remaining questions in my last minute and a half that I have with you. But once again, while we are doing that, I want to make sure that you are aware who your special revenue consultants are here at the Region 10 Education Service Center. I am there, Lauren McKinney. There's my Twitter handle. There's my contact information. Dion Quinn is there in the center. There is his contact information as well as his Twitter handle. And we also have Vanessa Delacritas. There is her contact information. Let me check a question that looks like I have here. The list of parent and family engagement resources can be found through our Parent and Family Engagement Department here at Region 10. The website is region10.org/parent involvement, and the contacts are Susan Harris and Sandy Benavides, and you'll see both of their pictures, emails, phone numbers on the website, which is region10.org/parent involvement. All right, guys, if anything comes up, you know who we are. You know how to reach us. We are thrilled and honored to be your consultants here at the Region 10 ESC who cover special revenue services. So that includes your title programs, your titles 1 through 6, as well as a couple of other grant sources. If you have any other questions that come up, if you need additional assistance, I am planning a face-to-face for your Title I parent and family engagement planning policies and compacts, but it's purely going to be a work session. I'm going to offer it, I believe, in November because the rest of this month is just jam-packed full of things. So I will let you know, and it's going to be based on need. So if you all communicate that you really do need that face-to-face, I will set aside, I'll find a location because we are currently in renovation, as you all know, a space for us to get together and sit down and just kind of go through the policy, the compacts, and any additional questions that you have as relates to your Title I parent and family engagement planning, your policies, and your compacts. Again, thank you for allowing us the opportunity to be of service to you and your LEA. This has been our annual webinar. It is October 3rd, 2018. Thank you again for your time, and should anything else come up, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Have a phenomenal rest of your day.